Hello everyone, this is Rig. Welcome to the part 2 of our chapter on the birth of Christianity. As usual, this part also contains the important questions which may come in your exam. And even though this video is made for class 7 specified to the ICSE board syllabus, but still anyone interested in history can go through this video. It will enhance or revise your knowledge. So let's have a recap of what we have already discussed on part 1. In part 1 we have discussed why do we periodize history, then we have discussed the time frame of medieval India. We have divided medieval India into early medieval and late medieval period. Then we have gone directly to the beginning of Christianity. After that, we have discussed in detail about the life of Jesus Christ. We have discussed the teachings of Jesus, how love, forgiveness, and repentance was the basis of his teaching. We have also discussed crucifixion of Christ, and then the resurrection of Jesus was also discussed in our last video. After that, we have gone to the rise of Christianity. We have gone in detail about the main disciples like Saint Peter and Saint Paul. We have also discussed the role of Emperor Constantine in popularizing Christianity or legalizing Christianity. Then we have discussed something about the Bible, which is the guiding principle behind the Christian doctrines. So, now today we will start with part 2, and as usual, carry a notebook with you so that you can note down the important points. So, let's start with our part 2 of birth of Christianity. Decline of ancient Europe. So, ancient Europe was going on a decline, and we all know that medieval period started from around 400 AD. So, in Europe. So, before that, there was ancient period in Europe. However, because of many reasons, the ancient period in Europe was no more existent. Now, why did it decline? By the 5th century CE, the Western Roman Empire began to crumble due to frequent invasion by barbarian tribes like Goths and Vandals. So, Goths and Vandals were tribes which were barbaric, means they do not follow any kind of rules or principles. So, they did not have any decency among them, and they frequently attacked the Western Roman Empire. Before this, you must know that the Roman Empire became divided into Eastern Roman Empire and Western Roman Empire. So by 5th century CE, the Western Roman Empire began to crumble. Why? Because of the attack of barbarian tribes like the Goths and the Vandals. Administrative inefficiency and weak leadership. The Western Roman Empire fell in the hands of weak emperors, and they could not administer the vast territory properly. Hence, there was administrative inefficiency, and also the leaders were very weak. They couldn't control. There was also the reason of economic instability. Economy means related to finance. A state cannot run, a government cannot run without proper monetary system. So there was some instability in the economic system of the ancient Europe. Heavy taxation burdened citizens and reduced agricultural output. The leaders or the government officials used to burden the people with very high taxes, and people did not like it at all. So they couldn't pay the tax, and also on the other hand, their main occupation agriculture was also hampered. They couldn't produce proper agricultural output, means agriculture, the only source of income, was not happening properly. Inflation and devaluation of currency weakened trade and commerce. So there was inflation. Inflation means increase in the price of goods, and when there is increase in the price of goods, the value of money will decrease. Like now, for 100 rupees, the things you get, you will have to pay 200 rupees in order to buy the same thing. So, the value of money is decreasing, which is devaluation, and inflation means the price of goods are increasing, and this weakened trade and commerce. Proper business activity was impossible to do in a condition like this. There was also political instability. Political instability means what are the policies or are the methods through which a government functions. Weak emperors struggled to maintain control over vast territories. The emperors were very weak and they couldn't control the vast area. The span of the Roman Empire was huge. Hence, it was very difficult for them to maintain governance or to maintain dominance over such a big territory. Internal conflicts and power struggles weakened the empire's cohesion. So there were many internal conflicts. As we have stated in our last video, the Roman Empire was divided into many provinces. Each province tried to compete with the other province, and they de- declared themselves independent. Sometimes they revolted against the central authority that we will not obey Rome, we are a kingdom of our own. So that caused power struggles. Power struggles means people were in confusion under whom they are citizens. So that is how power struggle happens when everyone thinks themselves to be the most powerful. The disintegration of empire led to the fragmentation of Europe into smaller kingdoms. So the empire broke down and Europe became broken into different smaller kingdoms. Barbaric invasions. Now we will discuss in detail about what kind of people invaded the Roman Empire. Barbarian tribes such as Goths and Vandals and Franks attacked the Roman Empire. So these were the tribes which attacked the Roman Empire. Goths are people from the modern area of German. They are Germanic people who invaded the Roman Empire from the eastern side between 3rd and 5th centuries. Now, Franks are the people belonging to the present day France. They came from the place of France, and so they disintegrated the Roman Empire. They also attacked the Roman Empire from the east. And you must have heard about the word vandalism. Vandalism means destroying something. So vandalism word actually came from Vandals because they were the tribes who used to come and destroy. They were also from the area of German only. So these are the tribes which attacked Roman Empire from the east. The invasions led to the sack of Rome in 410 CE by the Visigoths and 455 CE by the Vandals. So Rome was plundered. Rome fell on the hands of Visigoth in around 410 CE, and in around 455 CE they fell on the hand of Vandals, and from there originates the term vandalism, which means destroying. Disrupted trade routes and cultural exchanges across Europe. So, when a big power falls, its impact is felt in every kind of human activity. And the main activity which suffered was cultural exchanges and trade and commerce. Means people were unable to exchange goods with one another, and that led to the fall of business. These tribes looted and destroyed key Roman cities and territories. Their motive was not to take control of the Roman Empire. Their motive was to go take everything from the Roman Empire and go to their own houses. So that was the intention. Their intention was not to conquer a territory and govern them. Their intention was to loot from the territory, to take everything that the territories have. So they destroyed Roman cities and territories. Over time, the invaders settled in Roman territories, creating new political entities. However, over a period of time, after frequent attacks, they began settling in parts of Roman Empire, and from there rose different other political entities were the new people who looted Rome at first and then settled there. These invasions marked the end of centralized Roman rule and the onset of the Middle Ages. So it was because of these invasions the ancient Roman Empire fell and the Roman rule from the center crumbled, and there was a beginning of the Middle Ages. Now, political and economic crisis. How did the politics and economy of the time led to the fall of ancient Europe? The Roman Empire faced political instability due to weak emperors and constant power struggles. There were no specific rule of becoming an emperor. What was needed to become an emperor? No one knew. It was totally on the basis of partiality. There was a organization of important people called the Senate. So the Senate decided whom to give the power of an emperor, and mostly that was on the hands of rich people. So people who were rich did not have any knowledge about governance. Basically, those people became emperors. So obviously, the emperors will be very weak, and the emperors did not stay also for a long time, because after 2 or 3 years some other person will again become emperor. So they did not stay for a consistent period of time, hence there was constant power struggle. Corruption and administrative inefficiency in managing the vast empire. There were corruption. Government officials took bribes from the people in order to do something. Hence, there was corruption, and thus the administration or the management system of the government totally fell down. And so the vast empire was very difficult to control. Economic challenges included. Now, what were the financial challenges? How did money problem happen in ancient Europe? Heavy taxation, which led to peasant revolts and reduced productivity. So there were two kinds of taxes taken by ancient Roman Empire. What were they? First one was tax in cash, means people will have to pay money to the government. And the second one was tax in kind, means whatever the people are making, they will have to pay a portion of it to the government. That means if you are a farmer and if you have land, if you are producing some crops, you will have to give a portion of your crop to the state. However, during the period we are discussing, the taxation was very much heavy. Means the government demanded a lot of tax. Hence, people had to give most of their produce to the government. Thus, the agricultural production became diminished. They had to give all of their production, most of their production to the government. And this led to the peasant revolts. The farmers, the poor people, most of the population, they did not like the government policies and they revolted against the government. They resisted against the government. Inflation causing the value of Roman coins to decline and disrupting trade. This I have already stated. Inflation means increase in the price of goods. Now, when the price of something increases, it increases when it becomes very rare. So gold is very high in price only because the availability of gold is very less. So if the farmers are producing less food, then obviously the price of food will increase. And if there is a increase in the price of food, that means there is a decrease in the value of money, and thus the entire monetary system became unstable, and so there was a decline which disrupted the trade. There was decline in urban centers. Cities shrank as populations fled to rural areas for safety. As we have already discussed, tribes like Goths, Vandals, Franks, they invaded the Roman Empire. They used to go to the cities and destroy them. So people moved away from the cities in fear, and they settled in rural areas where they were considered to be safe. Reduced economic activity further weakened empire's power. So economic activity means work of the people were disrupted, and people were not working as much as they used to work before. Hence, reduction of economic activity was also a reason because of which Roman power became weak. Now we will discuss about Byzantium. As we have already stated that the Roman Empire became divided into two parts, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. The Western Roman Empire, we have already seen, it succumbed to the invaders, and also there was a disruption in the economic and political policies of the Western Roman Empire. However, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, thrived after the fall of Rome. Even if the Western Roman Empire and the city of Rome fell down, but still Eastern Roman Empire was surviving, and that empire is known as the Byzantine Empire. Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, became the capital and a cultural hub. The capital of this Eastern Roman Empire was a city named Constantinople. It was named after Emperor Constantine. Modern day, this city has been conquered by the Turks, and they have named it as Istanbul. This is a period of great historical battles and power struggle. This city has been subject to many attacks and conquerors. So, Constantinople is a very significant place in history. So, Constantinople, which is modern day Istanbul, became the capital and a cultural hub of the Eastern Roman Empire. It preserved the Roman traditions, including legal systems and architectural styles. So, original Roman tradition which existed in Rome was gone by that time. So Byzantium was the area and Constantinople was its capital, which preserved the Roman traditions. They still followed all the Roman cultures, and their legal system means how the courts used to function, and the architectural styles means the buildings and everything were still preserved properly in Constantinople. It played a key role in spreading Christianity to Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. Mediterranean means the area around the Mediterranean Sea. So Constantinople was one of the most important factor because of which Christianity spread in the area of Eastern Europe and Mediterranean. The Byzantine Empire became a center of trade connecting Europe and Asia. So it was on the eastern part of Europe and on the west of Asia. So it was basically a connection between Asia and Europe. Thus, Byzantine Empire became a center of trade. Whichever place in world history connects two major areas, that place itself becomes a important center of trade. So Byzantine Empire became a center of trade and commerce by connecting Europe with Asia. It resisted barbarian invasions, maintaining stability while Western Roman Empire fell. So barbarians attacked Byzantine Empire also, but unlike the Western Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire was very strong. It resisted against the barbarian invasions. Now we will read about how did people convert to Christianity. Early Christianity spread through the efforts of missionaries, disciples, and emperors. So, in the beginning, we have already seen that there were different disciples of Christ who used to go from place to place in order to spread Christianity. So, early Christianity spread with the help of missionaries, disciples of great saints and Christ, and also emperors like Constantine helped to legalize Christianity and enhanced its spreading across the world. So, early Christianity spread with the efforts of missionaries, disciples, and emperors. Constantine's Edict of Milan in 313 CE legalized Christianity, allowing it to flourish. So, Constantine had the Edict of Milan. It was an inscription where he authorized Christianity as a religion. That was a great support to the Christian people because until the time of Constantine, they were not treated properly. They were persecuted and they were told to be fake. They were hated by many people. So, when Constantine, the ultimate authority, the ultimate emperor, made the Edict of Milan, he gave complete authority to Christianity as a religion, and thus it was allowed to flourish along with different other sects of religion. By 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius declared Christianity the official state religion. So, by 380 CE, Christianity was not only well accepted but Emperor Theodosius himself declared Christianity to be the state religion of Roman Empire. Pagan traditions were gradually replaced with Christian practices and festival. Pagan traditions means traditions which used to exist before the advent of Christianity. So those traditions were replaced with Christian practices and Christian festivals became popular. The Christian Church unified Roman Empire under a single faith. So whole of the Roman Empire, almost everyone started following Christianity and they followed the instructions or the code of ethics given by the church. Thus, the Christian church was the unifying factor behind the Roman Empire's single faith. Monasteries and churches played a critical role in converting and educating people. So, monasteries were the places where Christian monks used to live, and churches were the places where Christians worshipped. Hence, these institutions played a great role in converting people to Christianity and also educating people on the subject of Christianity. Now we will discuss about the Crusades. Crusades were basically wars fought on the basis of religion. The Crusades 11 to 13th centuries were military campaigns aimed at reclaiming Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is an area in Central Asia. The Christians claimed the city to be their holy city, and so did the Muslims. Hence, wars were fought between the Christians and the Muslims in order to conquer Jerusalem. Those wars were fought for over 200 years, phase by phase, and those wars are called crusades. Causes. How did crusades happen? Why did it happen? Religious zeal to free the Holy Land from Muslim control. The area of Jerusalem before the advent of Christianity or Islam, the area of Jerusalem was under the Jews. When Christians came, it came under the control of Christians. Then later, when Islam came, it came under the control of Muslims. So now again, the Christians wanted to take the Holy Land from Muslim control, and they took it in their ego that we must take control of the Holy Land. That was the motive of Christian. They considered Jerusalem to be the Holy Land. Political motives to strengthen papal authority. Papal authority means authority of the Pope. So the Pope also wanted to establish his authority, and that is the reason he authorized the fighting of crusades. Key events: what happened during the Crusades? Pope Urban II launched the first crusade in 1095 CE. So, the first crusade began in around 1095 CE, and it was launched by the Pope himself, who was Pope Urban II. Crusaders established short lived Christian kingdoms in the Holy Land. So it was because of these crusaders that there were temporary kingdoms based on Christian principles in the Holy Land, means in the area of Jerusalem. Temporarily, there were some Christian kingdoms founded. Outcomes: what was the outcome? Increased cultural exchange between Europe and the Middle East. So the Europeans used to go to the Middle East, fight with them, and it was not only blood which was exchanged, also culture became exchanged. When Europeans went there, they learned from the Middle East. So there was a cultural exchange between Europe and the Middle East. Advanced trade but also caused violence and destruction. Trading connections also began to be established because of the Crusades, but also there was a lot of violence. Many good people died in Crusades from both the sides, and this area of Jerusalem is still a place of huge controversy and conflict, even in the present times. So, Christian monastic order. How did the Christian monks live their life? What was their governmental structure? That is the Christian monastic order. Monasticism began in 3rd century CE, emphasizing devotion and simplicity. So, what is monasticism? Monasticism is a type of life where a person dedicates himself to the service of God and to the service of people, and he does not enjoy any kind of luxury. His life is totally on the basis of simplistic practices and dedicated to his God. So that was monasticism. Monks and nuns renounced the worldly life to focus on spiritual growth. They did not think about their own benefit. Monks means male Christian monks, and the female women who dedicated their lives to Christianity, they are the nuns, and male who dedicated their lives to their God are the monks. So monks and nuns renounced all kind of worldly pleasures. They decided not to enjoy any kind of worldly luxuries, and their focus was only on spiritual growth. What are the key aspects of monastic life? Following strict rules, prayer, and manual labor. So they followed very strict rules in their life. Everything was in a very much disciplined manner. Even today, monks or nuns are very much disciplined in their life, and they spend a lot of time to pray for the goodness of people, and they did a lot of hard work in the form of manual labor. So that was how their day went. Preserving ancient manuscripts and knowledge. So ancient manuscripts, monks and nuns are very educated people because they studied the ancient manuscripts, and they were educators of the society in Europe. So they preserved the ancient manuscripts and spread knowledge. They taught people about the religious philosophies. So thus they acted as preservers of ancient knowledge. Monastic order like the Benedictines spread across Europe. So there were different monastic orders who spread across Europe. They established their institutions in different parts of Europe and spread the teachings of Christ. One such monastic order was the Benedictines. Monasteries became centers of education, healthcare, and charity. Monasteries was not only about devotion towards God, but also people were taught here. Hence, education was there, healthcare, and charity was also practiced by the monastic institutions. Monasticism contributed to intellectual and cultural revival in medieval Europe. It was because of these monastic practices and their discipline that there was an intellectual and cultural revival in medieval Europe, which was destroyed by the barbaric tribes during the late half of the ancient period. It was the monasticism which again made Europe culturally alive. Now, life in monasteries. How was the life in the monasteries? Monasteries were self contained communities providing education and social services. So, they were very much self sufficient. They obtained everything through hard work inside their campus. They had farming places, they had religious places, they had healthcare system, they had educational institutions also. So they were self-contained communities, means they did not normally need anything from outside, and they provided education and social services to the people. Daily life, how did their day go? Monks and nuns engaged in prayer, study, and manual labor. Manual labor means working hard without the help of any kind of machines. So, monks and nuns were focused on prayer. They studied very hard and they did all kinds of manual labor, means all of their own works were done by themselves, focused on agriculture and self sustenance. So they focused on farming and how to make themselves self sufficient. That was their focus, and thus they became self contained. Contributions. How did they contribute to the society? They preserved the ancient texts and promoted learning. All the ancient knowledge were preserved by them, and they promoted propagation of knowledge through learning, developed art forms like illuminated manuscripts. So, illuminated manuscripts were art forms which were developed. They are beautifully written manuscripts which looks very well in the presence of light. So, those are illuminated manuscripts, and all these things were done by the monks. And so, they not only gave education or social service, but they also promoted art, build schools, hospitals, and libraries. They did a lot of social works in the formation of schools, hospitals, and libraries. Monasteries became hubs of innovation and cultural exchange. Next came the priests and bishops who controlled the monasteries. Priests performed essential religious duties like baptisms, marriages, and sermons. So it was the duty of the priest to give religious services to the people, like baptism. Marriages were also governed by the priest, and also sermons were given by the priests and bishops. Now, what did the bishops do? Bishops supervised the priests. They were on the above rank, above the priest, and so they supervised the priest and managed dioceses, regions of the church. Regions of the church means the area in which the church had control. So, the bishops supervised the priest and managed the area which was under the control of the church. They played key role in spreading Christianity and maintaining order. They were like rulers in the area of the diocese. So they played key roles in spreading Christianity, and thus they maintained order and discipline among the people. They ensured that religious practices aligned with Christian doctrines. They were the supervisors who ensured that all kinds of religious practices went according to Christian principles. The church hierarchy provided structure and stability in the medieval society. So it was the hierarchy or different power levels in the church that provided stability in the medieval society. Priests and bishops also acted as advisors to kings and rulers, influencing governance. So they not only did social service and controlled or educated the people, they also acted as councils to priests and bishops and to kings and rulers. And also the kings sometimes favored the opinions of bishops because they believed it to be a divine mandate. Hence, priests were also key factors behind the formation of governmental policies. Next up, we will see who is the head priest, the Pope. The Pope, as the Bishop of Rome, became the spiritual leader of Christians worldwide. Even today, Pope is the Bishop of Rome and he is the spiritual leader of the Christians all over the world. All over the world, whoever is Christian, their head bishop is the Pope. He claimed authority as Saint Peter's successor, emphasizing apostolic continuity. So, Saint Peter was the first pope, and the the person who becomes pope claims to be the successor of Saint Peter, hence the religious head of the Christians. And that also shows a continuity. The pope's influence extended across Europe, unifying Christians under one leadership. So it was the pope who authorized Christianity in different parts of Europe, and thus Christians became united under the leadership of Pope, who was the spiritual leader of all the Christians. And still, the Pope is considered to be the spiritual leader of all the Christians worldwide. Established Vatican as a religious and political center. So, Vatican is a place in Rome which is the religious and political center of Christianity. So, it was supposed to be a religious center, but the Pope had extreme powers, and he, as we know, could influence great kings and queens. That is why it also became a political center along with being a religious center. A pope played a key significant role in mediating conflicts and guiding rulers. So pope also acted as a negotiator or a peacemakers between two conflicting rulers, and it guided the rulers to follow principles of peace and prosperity. Popes like Gregory the Great reformed the church and strengthened its authority. So there were popes, the great examples of a few popes are there. Among them, Gregory the Great is very popular because he reformed the church and strengthened the authority of pope across all Christians. So now we will go through the important questions and answers which may come in your exam, and these questions and answers will help you to understand the chapter better. What were the causes of decline of ancient Europe? Frequent barbarian invasions, weak leadership, economic instability, and internal conflicts contributed to the decline. Who were the barbarian invaders and how did they impact Roman Empire? Tribes like Goths, Vandals, and Franks invaded, leading to the fall of cities and the fragmentation of the Roman Empire. What economic crisis did the Roman Empire face during its decline? The empire suffered from heavy taxation, inflation, reduced trade, and a decline in urban centers. What role did Byzantium play after the fall of Western Roman Empire? Byzantine Empire preserved Roman traditions, served as a hub for trade, and spread Christianity in Eastern Europe. What events marked the conversion to Christianity in the Roman Empire? Christianity became legal under Constantine, and by 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius declared it the state religion. What were the Crusades and what were their outcomes? The Crusades were military campaigns to reclaim Jerusalem. They increased cultural exchange but caused violence and conflict. What is monasticism and what role did monasteries play in the medieval society? Monasticism emphasized devotion and simplicity. Monasteries preserved text, provided education, and supported the needy. Describe the daily life of monks in medieval monasteries. Monks engaged in prayer, manual labor, copying manuscripts, and community service within self sufficient monasteries. What roles did priests and bishops have in medieval Christianity? Priests conducted sacraments and led worship, while bishops oversaw clergy and managed dioceses. What was the significance of Pope in medieval Europe? The Pope served as the spiritual leader of the Christians, influenced politics, and united kingdoms under the Church. So that was all about the birth of Christianity. Please go through both the videos in order to understand the concept better. Thank you so much for your love and support.